Hey Leos, do you want to go for a walk, baby?
Take 3. It's been so long since I've last filmed that I have now started this over 3 times and forgotten to hit record every single time. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mindy. It has been 3 weeks since you last heard from me, and a lot has happened since then. So grab yourself a protein shake or a drink or whatever. Don't grab anything. I don't care. Strap yourself in. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. Let's talk. The last time you heard from me 3 weeks ago, I let y'all know about what had happened earlier that week with my family and the death in our family. That night, I was on my way to Nikki's house to start prepping for Abby's birthday party that Saturday. And I got a call from my sister letting me know that she was following the ambulance on the way to take my mom into the ER. My mom has type 2 diabetes and a host of other health issues. And earlier that day, she had been doing fine. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she went from having like a minor pain in her leg to being in so much pain that she was literally shaking, like practically having a seizure. Her blood sugar skyrocketed into the 300s, not because of anything that she ate. Her blood sugar has never gone that high. And they decided to take her into the ER. It turned out that she had a staph infection that was in her blood. The concern was because she's had several heart attacks and strokes that maybe that infection would get into her heart. Thankfully, it never did. And about a week later, she was released and she's doing much better. But with everything else that was going on, that kind of on top of everything was it's just been a lot, y'all. So that was Thursday. While I was on the phone with my sister telling me about what was going on with my mom, the check engine light went on my car. That Saturday, we had Abby's birthday party, which was amazing. She is every bit her parents' child. That baby is just something else. She's 3 years old and every bit of 3 years old. My husband and I had every intention of taking my car into AutoZone to look at it because we have a friend that's a mechanic. He's like, take it to AutoZone, have them do the diagnostics, let me know what the code is, and I'll let you know what's wrong with it. So we went to grab breakfast and the check engine light was on. And then when we left to go to AutoZone to take it to get it diagnosed, the check engine light wasn't on anymore. And literally that same thing happened 3 more times throughout that week where it would turn on and then I'd be like, okay, in the morning, I'm going to take it and get it diagnosed. And in the morning, the check engine light would be off again. And then it would be on and then it would be off and then it would be on and then it would be off. And now it's been off for 2 weeks and it's never come back on again. So a friend of mine said it's probably just a faulty sensor. And that's a problem for another time because Mindy is way too overwhelmed to be concerned about that when the car is not acting odd in any other way. That Monday, when Richard was on his way to work, he had a tire blowout on his car. Not just a flat, like a full-on blowout. Completely bent the whole rim, just exploded. Thankfully, he was like literally in the parking lot at work when it happened. So it just stayed in the lot at work all week while he went off and drove in the truck all week. And then when he came back, he had them put the spare on, went straight to Discount Tire, and we got the tire replaced. Thank goodness he wasn't hurt. But again, just filling y'all in on the drama. That was my birthday week. I was at home alone that week. Richard was off driving, but thank goodness I have a group of people that knew that my husband would be gone during my birthday, and almost every day that week, I had time with someone. Like people took me out to dinner. Nikki ended up being off on my birthday and we went out to lunch together with Abby, and it was a good week, but still all of that stress in the background. Later that week, I had the second part of my ADHD assessment. My psychologist gave me my diagnosis. She diagnosed me with combination type ADHD. So I am both inattentive and hyperactive ADHD. If you don't know, hyperactive ADHD presents very differently in women. I mean, ADHD in general presents very differently in women than it does in men. If you're curious if it's something that you might have, I've been dealing with it my whole life and just not ever attributed the issues to ADHD. I just thought I was a weirdo and that my brain just worked differently than other people's. And it definitely did. ADHD is a type of neurodivergence. I've actually had somebody tell me that it's on the autism spectrum, but it's not, but it is a form of neurodivergence. So I do have a spicy brain. And we sent that ADHD diagnosis off to my psychiatrist's office. That weekend on Saturday, I had my birthday party planned with my girlfriends. We had a whole day where we just hung out, we had lunch together, we got a bunch of snacks and just sat around watching movies and laughed and were girls and had an amazing time. And then on Sunday, I was supposed to spend the day with my husband for my birthday. And I woke up with really bad vertigo, which is something that I struggle with intermittently. And normally I'm able to kind of get a hold on it. Like I have exercises that I've done in the past that have helped. And it was bad enough that I felt like I needed to try those exercises to see if I couldn't get a hold on it. And after I completed the exercises, and I've never had this happen before, I started getting cold sweats. I started feeling super nauseous and I ended up vomiting. We went to CVS to get me some motion sickness pills because that can help sometimes. He drove me, obviously I did not drive. He drove me to Dos Salsas. I thought, well, maybe if I eat something that'll help. He dropped me off at the front of the restaurant so that he could go park the car. And while I was sitting there, it was like, oh no, I'm gonna toss my cookies again. And I had to literally run, like weave through the restaurant, holding onto booths the whole way. Thankfully, everyone there knows us so well that they were like very accommodating with helping me get to the bathroom. And I threw up again. Richard, bless his heart, got a booth as close to the restroom as he could. And we ordered me some soup, thinking that hopefully that would help calm my stomach down. I took one bite and I was like, no. Thankfully, held everything down at the restaurant. As soon as we got back to the house, like just the motion from driving in the car from the restaurant to the house, like that was enough to set me off again. So I basically spent that entire day just glued to the couch with my husband helping me back and forth to the restroom. Fantastic birthday surprise. Thankfully, I woke up the next day and I was feeling fine. I didn't have any more issues. Like the vertigo was still kind of on and off, but it was tolerable. Like it didn't ever get as bad as it was on Sunday. Last week was blessedly mostly drama-free. I did have my first non-ADHD psychologist appointment where we kind of started talking through some of my control issues and just my overall attitude of feeling like I never do enough. I'm going to be continuing to work with my psychologist on coping mechanisms for my ADHD and, obviously working through some other stuff because ideally, we don't want me to be on medication for the ADHD forever. It's one of those things where you should be able to learn coping mechanisms in order to work with the ADHD and learn how to, make your brain work with you, not against you. I met with my registered nurse psychiatrist last week and we talked over my ADHD diagnosis. She will eventually be able to write my prescriptions for my stimulant, but for the first time, I have to meet with her supervising physician. She talked to me about the two different medications that they generally start with for stimulants for ADHD, and that's Adderall and Vyvanse. And she highly suggested me talking to him about Vyvanse. If you're not familiar with the two different kinds of medication, Adderall is probably one of the most commonly prescribed ADHD medications, but it is a much beefier stimulant. It's the one that's most often abused. It's like a punch of release up front and then it wears off more quickly. So it's the one that college students use to study. It just, from everything I've read, there's more likelihood of dependence on Adderall. Vyvanse is a kind of more of a longer release. Like it generally tends to last about 14 hours. And in addition to ADHD, Vyvanse is also approved to treat binge eating disorder, which is Not something I've been officially diagnosed with, but I definitely do struggle with binging from time to time. And when I'm struggling with depression and other things, I definitely struggle with it more. So that's been something that I have definitely been backsliding into over the last couple of months as I've been dealing with everything. So she booked me an appointment with her supervising psychiatrist this Monday. So I met with him on Monday and we decided that Vyvanse was the way to go. Apparently, like the lowest possible dosage is 10 milligrams. He said he would like to start me on 20 milligrams. 30 is the usual like maintenance dose, but given everything we talked about with how I was a super responder with Wegovy, I've never drank, I've never done drugs, I've never been on any kind of heavy stimulant. I don't really even drink caffeine except for like unsweetened tea a couple times a week. So he's like, I really think starting you on 20 milligrams is the better idea. He said, I've never had a patient regret starting too low, but I have had patients regret starting too high. So given my experience with Wegovy and knowing how I wish I had stayed on the low doses longer, I agreed with him and I was like, yeah, let's start at the 20 milligram, see how it goes type situation. And he was like, let's start by you taking it like Monday through Friday and taking a break on the weekend. He's like, if you've got a weekend day where you need to get a lot done, sure, go ahead and take it on the weekend. But he's like, you don't need to take it every single day. I think they do that to kind of give your body breaks from the stimulant because apparently it can also increase your heart rate initially. It can do lots of different things. And of course, they're also always worried about chemical dependence. But he was like, most of the time, the people that get addicted to these medications are the people who are getting multiple prescriptions from multiple doctors. They're taking it way outside the scope of what it's prescribed to be done. People that are crushing up the pills and snorting them or injecting them, which that is not something that I would ever do because that terrifies the snot out of me. Yeah. I am cautiously optimistic about the medication. I'm taking it today for the first time because I am off work today and I want to know how I feel on it before I start taking it while I'm at work. So Monday, I met with a psychiatrist. I found out that Vyvanse is covered by my insurance, but it requires a prior authorization. So like I thought that was going to be a whole process given my Wegovy also requires a prior authorization, and that process actually was fairly quick and painless for me, which I know prior authorization processes are usually a total headache. I've heard nightmare stories from people, but literally like the second I ended my phone call with my psychiatrist who sent in the prescription while we were on the phone, and he gave me the name of the person that does all their prior authorizations and everything. The second we got off the phone, I got a call from Express Scripts saying that they got the prescription and the prior authorization was approved for a year. So I don't know what kind of miracle business was happening. You know, God made that work. He made that happen. So I literally went the next morning and picked up the prescription, taking it this morning because you need to take it first thing in the morning because it is a stimulant and you need to make sure it's out of your system by the time you go to bed at night. On Tuesday, I met with my primary care doctor. She and I talked about me discontinuing Wegovy. I didn't take Wegovy this week because I already knew I was going to talk to her about it. I didn't take it last week because I was kind of thinking about the fact that I didn't want to be on it anymore. And she and I talked about the fact that I don't feel like Wegovy has been doing very much for me lately anyway. And I don't want to be on a bunch of different medications at the same time. I also have reservations about being on a medication that suppresses an appetite while starting a stimulant, which often has appetite suppressing effects as well. So I didn't want to be on two appetite suppressants. I think more than anything, I just want to know how one medication is affecting me without thinking about the fact that it could be another medication that's either interacting with it or that other medication in its entirety being the one that's doing things. So I have not taken Wegovy in 2 weeks. And this morning I took my Vyvanse. I don't think the Wegovy has left my system yet by any means. So I have a feeling that it's going to take a while for the Vyvanse to actually take effect because I've been on the GLP medications in one form or another for over 3.5 years. So it's going to take a while, I think, for those to actually leave my system, because one of the major mechanisms of action of GLP medications is to slow gastric emptying. It makes everything that you take orally take longer to take effect. I took the Vyvanse as early as I could this morning, like right when I woke up. That was about an hour and a half ago, and I still don't feel much of anything except for a little bit of dizziness. But honestly, ever since I had that vertigo episode a week and a half ago, I've had a little bit of vertigo almost every day anyway. So I can't necessarily attribute that to the Vyvanse yet. I definitely don't feel any racing heart or like burst of energy or anything that I would feel like I could attribute to a stimulant. One thing that I did read on, like while I was reading about Vyvanse, is that because it's not as in your face as Adderall, it can take a little bit longer for you to feel the effects of it because it is longer release. And sometimes it can take a few days of taking it before you really notice a big difference with the Vyvanse as opposed to the Adderall. We also do have me on a lower dose, so who knows? But I will definitely keep you updated on this whole stimulant journey and let you know how I'm doing. Just again, I want to clarify, I am no longer taking Wegovy. My doctor and I decided that we're going to take at least a 3-month break from the GLP medication to see how I do on the Vyvanse. She's extremely hopeful. She thinks that Vyvanse was absolutely the best choice. She thinks that I'm going to do great on it. She thinks that it's going to help a lot. And my psychiatrist does as well. So does my psychologist, my dietitian. Like, I have this amazing group of people. Y'all, I've never seen this many doctors in my life, let alone at one time. It's like the last several weeks, I've been having like 3 doctor's appointments a week, sometimes 4. And it's crazy, but I'm proud of myself for taking care of myself, for trying to do something without being stuck. Please hold, my husband is calling me. Sorry, there have been so many things that have happened since I left you. Sorry, Richard, it turns out, is going to be driving through an area close to us that it's going to make it so that we can probably meet up for a little bit to share a meal together today, which we don't normally get to do because he's not usually in this area at all, and definitely not during a time when I'm not at work. So that was a lovely surprise today. And then my sister called because I forgot to give you another update. My sister was in the ER this last weekend. She struggles with diverticulitis. It runs in my family. Thank goodness that is not something that I have struggled with yet. And I hope that I never do, because I have heard that it is so very painful. Anyway, today is the first time that I've been able to talk to her in over a week because the antibiotics just take her out. Got to talk to her about plans to go visit in October. We're going to go for my mom's birthday, Richard's birthday, and my sister's birthday. They're all kind of within a month of one another, actually within probably about 3 or 4 weeks of one another. So we're just going to squeeze all of that in, and we're actually going to go for 2 weeks, which is the longest trip that I've taken to California since we left. So we are very much looking forward to that trip in October, but it's going to be like towards the end of October. Anyway, my nephew Bradley is coming to visit from California this weekend, so we're going to get to see him on Sunday, which is always a fun treat. And yeah, it is now 11:45-ish. I took the Vyvanse at, I think it was around 8 o'clock, maybe a little bit before 8 o'clock. Still don't really feel much of anything except for maybe still some like dizziness, like cloudiness in my head, but I'm not feeling like a massive burst of energy or focus or anything like that. So I think I may have built up a whole lot of anxiety over nothing, which is fine. I would much rather have that be the case, but I have been very anxious about taking these meds. I've been afraid that I'm going to feel like super cracky or, just like jittery, or because I've gotten that way even with pain medications before. I'm very drug intolerant. Like even pain medication, I can't take anything much stronger than like 800 milligram ibuprofen. So I've been super nervous about the Vyvanse, but so far it's been much ado about nothing. Anyway, I don't really remember where I was at before Richard called, but I met with my dietitian yesterday and she and I kind of set some goals moving forward to try and get me back on track again. I have not stepped on a scale in over a month because I know that my eating habits have been absolutely terrible. I've been trying to still stick to eating somewhat healthy meals during the week, but there's been a lot of deviation from that, especially on my birthday week and just with the depression and everything else that's been going on. My capacity for planning and for structure and all of those things, even though I crave that structure, I just haven't been able to get it together to do all of those things. And so the goal next week is for me to actually step on the scale for the first time in a couple of months and figure out my new baseline, figure out where I'm starting from. And I'm going to do my best not to beat myself up over the backsliding. And she and I are going to work on resetting my calorie and macro goals, getting back to structure, getting back to what I know works, because I know that taking care of myself ultimately makes me feel better. And when I don't take care of myself, I feel worse, which seems like a no-brainer type revelation. But for somebody who has spicy brain and who struggles with depression and not being able to focus and things like that, like I have just really fallen into a hole of just not caring, like just full on apathy. And I'm tired of being in that place. I'm hopeful that the Vyvanse is going to help to bring me to a place of some kind of motivation. And I'm looking forward to getting back in touch with my body in a way that I haven't been able to since I started the GLP medications over 3.5 years ago. I'm hoping that maybe we will reach an end of the epic constipation at some point once those GLPs have left my system. And yeah, this is just kind of a new phase of my journey. I don't know what this means for content moving forward. I'm just going to continue to take you guys along for the ride. I am definitely still focused on my overall health. It's just that most recently that has meant taking care of my mental health much more than my physical health. And eventually those two will merge. And I'm looking forward to how those will overlap and what that will look like going forward for my health, for my weight, for my mental health, for just me. So thank you once again for being here, for your support, to my Buy Me a Coffee members who have stuck with me through this just mess of a couple of months. Thank you so much. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.
We're on a journey, looking back on the things that we've taken for granted, but feels like we're learning to be better without what's been holding us back now.